It's good morning, Susanna Hardy. Thank you for joining us on
Oh,
Yellowstone for the first time.
yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
It is good to have you. You're just about to release your second novel.
Yes.
Congratulations. It's out on the 13th of April. My Hot Housemaid, which is
Yes.
fabulous. The picture on the front, everything's visually great about it, but it's available for pre-order. So I'm grateful you said yes to talk to me today. Tell us all about the book. What do we need to know?
Well, My Hot Housemate is an enemies to lovers rom-com. It's about an actress called Indigo James. She's Australian and pretty successful, but she's living in LA with her fiance and then finds out he's had an affair, then ends up back in Sydney house sitting for her best friend and looking after a demanding, enormous Labradoodle called George. She doesn't know anything about dogs. Doesn't That doesn't seem to be a
Yeah,
minor issue.
yeah.
But she also has an unexpected housemate that wasn't part of the plan. It's the arrogant and extremely good looking Jeremy Taylor. So they don't get on. It's living together is unbearable, but then, somewhere along the way, that tension starts to sizzle. But just as that happens, Hollywood calls and Indy finds she has to choose between her dream role and the possible man of her dreams. So yeah,
And
that's
it's
about
it is
the
it's
scenario.
filled with lots of tension, lots of chemistry, but that dilemma that you know we face in life sometimes about do we go this path or do we go this path?
Yeah.
It's fair to
That's
say.
it. That's it. Yeah. And I tend to write about flawed characters. I find that, I always write rom-coms and I find there's a lot of comedy with flawed characters. But for indie, it's really about where that ambition, although healthy, takes over from the rest of your life. And, how do you balance it out? And why can't you have it all, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Susanna, tell us about what inspired you to write this book. I mentioned it's your second book. You
yes.
you released a book a few years ago.
2021 was another rom-com called Loving Lizzie March. So that I finished that back in 2018, and that's when I started writing this book because I was told, once you finish one, you should just crack on with the next. And I was pitching that to publishers and all that sort of thing. And at that time, I joined Romance Writers of Australia, which is a fabulous organisation, and they have a conference every year where you can, go and network and do workshops and pitch your manuscript. And I was doing this workshop, and they were talking about tropes, and I didn't even really know what a trope was back then, and I certainly hadn't thought of that when I wrote Lizzie, because I'm an actress before I became a writer, and Loving Lizzie March was based on a character that I had created as a performer and performed on stage and screen and in a comedy group. And so it was very much character driven. So then it wasn't selling. And so I thought, oh gosh, maybe I need to write about tropes. Maybe I need to write a proper grown up book
Yeah,
with a few tropes. So I really love the enemies to lovers scenario.
yeah.
And so I wanted to focus on that. And in Lizzie, I didn't write about an actress. So I sort of shied away from it. But this time I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to write about an actress. It'll be good fun, and I can control her career like you can't in real
Yeah.
life, and give her, the best career. And I also wanted to pop a dog in there as well because I felt that would give another problem and
Yeah.
something that she and the romantic lead could either bond over or not. And I really loved Enid Blyton as a child, like Famous Five. And I found I wanted to sort of channel Timmy the dog from the Famous Five because Enid Blyton really made him as part of the five and
Yeah.
sometimes would write from his point of view. So I wanted to create the dog in a way that was, a lovable character that was part of it. So
Yeah.
it's sort of all those elements came together really. And yeah, I never really know how it's going to go. I'm a bit of a fly by the seat of my pants type writer. So yeah, sort of get the elements in place and then yeah.
Yeah. And Suzanne, do you want to tell us a bit about you and this journey of
Yeah.
to becoming a writer? We'd love to hear about you.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I was an actress. I still work in the industry. I always did a lot of writing for performing work as well as, TV and whatever comes along. And I used to do, a lot of ads and small parts on telly and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But I did create a lot of work, one of which was this comedy trio called The Girls, where this character came out of. But somewhere along the way, about 20 years ago, I decided I would branch out into freelance writing as a sort of another form of income. For some reason, I thought that would be nice and reliable as opposed to acting. But I started writing for magazines and newspapers, a lot of parenting, and I just got married and started having babies. So there were a lot of parenting articles, but also a lot of mostly interiors and real estate, that sort of thing.
Yep.
But I was working on my novel at the same time and decided, even though I'd never planned to write a book, but I really wanted to do something with this character that I had. So, yes. And then I gradually started getting in-house writing jobs. And now I work part-time at news.com.au as an e-com writer. So I do that as well. I've got a couple of freelance clients that I keep on my, keep there, and write fiction in whatever time is left with teenage daughters. So yeah, it's a busy life. But it's great having the two. Like,
sorry, keep going.
I was just gonna say, it's great having like in some ways acting and writing are very similar. They're both very creative processes about character and storytelling, and one you kind of do with your body physically, and the other is, through words on the page. But with writing, I just love that I can get up on a Monday morning and write. I can get a job by the end of the day, or I could write a couple of chapters. I can be proactive in it, whereas acting has got so many balls up in the air that all have to align before you can even get a job. So there's that sort of that that frustration when you're someone like me who is a doer.
Yeah,
I just love that I can write it in my pajamas, or I don't have to, it doesn't matter what I look like, I can just write.
Yeah, no. Well, congratulations. I know it's going to get busy over the next month. You're about to launch. That's going to be a super exciting journey. I'm going to be cheeky and ask, are there more books? Like, are there more ideas? Like, will you write more novels?
Yeah, I've got one. Yes, no, my next one, I've almost finished there's a first draft there, but it's got a long way to go. And that may or may not be about mums who play soccer, something to do with that scenario, but that's as much as I'll say. But it sort of leans more into the school age mum now.
Yeah. Well, that's me. So listen, enjoy this journey, the book launch. I mean, I asked you about future books because I'd love to have you back in the future if launching books.
Oh, I'd love to come
on the journey. I do that cheeky ask. Tell us, how do we connect with you? I'll put this in the show notes. If we're curious about the book, how do we find you on socials?
Yeah, well, there's my website, which is Susanna Hardy Writer. I'm always on there, and Instagram at Susanna.Hardy, Facebook Susanna Hardy Author. And I'm kind of new to TikTok. I'm giving it a go, but I'm at Susanna Hardy Author there too. So
good stuff.
My daughter keeps telling me, Mum, you've got to know the trends. You've got to,
Thank God for young kids, hey.
I know.
Direction there. It's so lovely to meet you. Congratulations with the book. It's a really fun book. That's definitely a rom-com, a fun book to read, and slightly spicy. So we'll leave it at that, won't we?
There is a bit of spice, a couple of chilies there.
Thanks, Susanna.
Thank you. Thanks so